Hey, how are you doing? This is Pod and Deliver. And you know what? We're going to be doing the second half of Scott Adams' his book is called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Bigly. And so last time we got together, we did the first 19 chapters. This week, we're doing the next 19 chapters. And there's so much meat in there, we thought we'd split it up. Before we start, Ruben, anything to share about just the overall feeling of the book? How did you, after reading all 38 chapters, I'm not sure how many times you read it, but what's your feeling on this book?
I have good feelings, but before I get into details, I wanted to remind you that last week you had mentioned a system for losing weight as opposed to goal. So what's your system for losing weight?
I don't have a system right now. But
so you were just talking. This is all just theory. Don't listen to us, everybody. We're just talking here.
No. Although I want to talk about the fitness piece. And now you're throwing out the food. You're talking about dieting, which is not dieting, but the foods. He goes into dieting in this last part of the book.
So no answer to my question, huh? We're just moving on. Okay.
All right. I don't have it yet. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, Ruben. You can't look like this without working at it. So maybe on the opposite direction.
Let's move on.
Yes.
I guess.
Did you remember my question?
Yes, I like to talk about a chapter in which he says that making conversations with strangers is a skill that is a bit underrated. And the reason I bring this up is because this has been a useful thing for me for my 9th grade students. You know, it's easy for me to remember when I was in 9th grade and the difficulty I had with talking to people to make friends, talking to somebody I was interested in. I mean, in other words, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening very fast, very smoothly. So what I started doing maybe about 5 years ago is I started talking to my 9th graders about how to make a friend, how to talk to girls if it was boys, talk to boys if it's girls, or anybody if they want to meet somebody. And I would talk about, hey, approach somebody and say, this is my name. What are your hobbies? What do you want to do for a living one day? Little basic questions. He mentions it for adults. He has an adult audience, but I think this is a useful tool to help students start to make friends and to break the ice a little bit, because it could be a scary thing, high school.
So that's a skill, right? I mean, to have that, be able to have those conversations. And in that chapter, he deals with about 10 different skills that you should have. You should, obviously, conversation, accounting, psychology, learn a second language, persuasion. But the one that caught me was shyness. What do you do with somebody who is shy? Right? Work on that. How do you work on being shy? Well, I do something that he mentions in the book, which is before I have class, I have to talk myself through it. I have to pretend that I'm ready for it. And I have to realize that, you know what, kids are going to be coming in. I'm going to be giving a lesson. I'm going to be talking to them. But I'm an introvert, and there's a lot of teachers who are introverts, but this is how I do it. I sit and wait, and I imagine the conversations that I'm going to have. I practice. I also look at other people who are doing it, other teachers, and I kind of fake it out. And now I've been faking out for so many years that it's becoming part of who I am. I'm a teacher, and I go up and I'm actually part of it's like you're on stage, right? You're having to talk to these kids. You're having to have those conversations, and I know in the classroom, for some people, I think that scares some new teachers. But that's what I got out of the beginning of the second part of the book is, hey, you know what? Add to your skill base, right? He says actually, he shares that if you add a second, third, or fourth skill, you're just going to have more odds of being successful, right? He says every skill you acquire doubles your odds of success. That was pretty ingenious of him to say that. Anything else that stood out to you regarding the second part of the book?
Yes, I actually like that as well. Any skill you add doubles your odds for success because it becomes exponential, right? And there's a lot of information about that idea that's out there. Like you learn from other disciplines, and even if it's a very different discipline, like let's say you learn a language, and then you learn, a martial art. Some of those things, as you keep, stockpiling skills, they kind of inform each other. Mm-hmm. It's a very useful thing. The thing I was also going to mention along those lines is the idea of skills. He brings out a point that most students do not spend a lot of time with highly skilled people. And I thought that was a fascinating statement. And it makes me think about my students and what kind of exposure they're getting to skilled people, and what that means for me as a teacher. Yeah. It there have been times, especially not the school I work at now, but I worked at a school in which we could take students out into the field, mm-hmm. and they could observe and interview people with varying professions and skill levels, and it was a very good tool, and it's inspiring.
Yeah. When you're sharing that about just being inspiring, it reminds me of a piece of, he actually goes to it 2 or 3 times in the second part of the book, talking about affirmations. And he's had to do that over his life. And he says some people look at him and think he's strange, like it's magic, voodoo, where he looks himself in the mirror and says, you know what, I'm going to be a successful but I'm going to be a successful cartoonist, right? And guess what? He became a successful cartoonist. Or I'm going to be a millionaire. And he became a millionaire. Now, obviously, he built up those skills to get there, right? He built up, and he also was in the right place in the right time. But he shared, every time I did those affirmations, something good happened. And I think that's something to pass on to our kids as well, is saying, you know what, you guys are, be positive. Later on, he talks about affirmations when he talks about looking at the glass half full, not empty, right? Where you're being positive, right? So when you're positive, when you're looking at life saying, good things are going to happen to me, guess what? Good things happen to you. But if you're negative, if you're like, I don't know if it's going to happen to me, guess what? Those things aren't going to happen for you. Positive things aren't going to happen for you. So I think even when we get into the classroom, I think we rub off on kids. And I think part of that is to be positive, right? To show them, hey, you know what, if you're in that negative mindset, only, nothing positive is going to come out of that. And I don't know. I felt like that was pretty affirming, and I enjoyed that piece.
The topic of affirmations could sound very odd to people. Mm-hmm. The idea of staring into the mirror and saying, I will be blank. Mm-hmm. I will be a successful whatever, politician, teacher, whatever. That is odd to some people. But upon reflection, think about the idea of what speech is and how powerful it is, the word, you verbalizing things. Because once you say it, there's a little bit of an accountability there, at least to yourself. So it almost focuses you to the direction in which you're going in. So on the face of it, it might seem magical. And he talks about it as does this guy believe in magic, Scott Adaams? But I think it really does focus your attention to what matters, to what your goal is, as long as it's through the lens of a system. It's not just some place you're aimlessly going to. So there is some wisdom in affirming out loud what you're going to do. I like it.
And you know what? I think he does that also because last time we talked about him sharing about his illness with his throat and how he couldn't speak. And I think I mentioned to you that we see it throughout the book, and you're saying, oh, no, it's only for a couple of chapters. But then we do see it at the end of the book as well. So he does go back to it several times, talking about his throat and how he couldn't speak. And I was kind of thrown off because he went back to it like 3 times in the second part of the book. Why does he do this? And it touches what we just shared right now. I think he was showing an example that, you know what, when in the process where he felt like he couldn't go on, he couldn't speak, he felt like a failure, he didn't feel good about himself, he just was desperate. And he started sharing things to himself like, you know what, I'm going to get healed. Even though no one's been healed with this ever, I'm going to be healed. And that was an affirmation, right? And then I said, well, what else? Why else is he sharing this story about his throat and about him not talking? And I realized, it just shows that hey, you know what? Seemed like he was doing everything right, but he was failing in health.
Yeah.
You know, he was a failure in health. And he said, you know what? There are things I could do to, and we're talking about the health piece. And I'll be honest with you, I do struggle with my weight. But I will tell you one thing that he encouraged me when one is with fitness. Because sometimes I get discouraged. He has a chapter on working out. And I was waiting for him to say, hey, you know what, you got to do this many hours and do this type of squats or do this type of run or tennis. And he goes, you know what, just be active. That wasn't be active. That could be doing some chores. That could be walking, you know, with your wife in the evening. And I said, wow, I just need to be active every day. And I'm sorry, that was something that spoke to me. I feel like if I do that right, I'm going to be active.
Well, don't be active and walking to the Pizza Hut.
Well, I'm trying.
So
I'm
that's
trying,
the problem,
my brother. I'm trying.
So,
but yeah, so I want to be active. So that was encouraging.
And
that
if you say it, the power of the word is meaningful. The power of a commitment verbally, it gets out of your head, which a lot of people are in still. Just they're in their head, and so there is some meaning in that, even though it might seem a little bit woo woo, as it were. So I do have one more thing maybe to add to the conversation,
sure.
And that is he does spend some time talking about storytelling and humor, and it is appropriate within the lens of teaching. You know what? It is good to know how to be funny. And he defines humor as not just the joke teller telling jokes, but creating kind of a question or an atmosphere that allows others to contribute. Maybe ask a kind of a fun type of question or create an environment that will have others contribute to their humor. And that is really appropriate for a teacher to do and to teach. And the other thing is to be able to tell a good story, because doggone it, a lot of people tell terrible stories. You know, they don't know how to tell a story. And this is a skill that you can build on because poor students, some of them have to hear some long, boring stories. I'm going to shut up now.
Last thing, you know, and we're going to close, is that I think at the end of this, when the book is over and you finish with it, what can you take out of it? Both of us, we took some gems out. But I think even if you took just one item, I think that's going to make your life different. Like for me, of course, the exercising piece. But even the affirmation, I think that's what we'll close. You know what? I'm going to look at you guys right now. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And dang it, my brother likes me. And that's it for Pot and Deliver. Do you want to do that?
That wasn't his. He took it from SNL.
Did
so
I really?
I don't want us to cover. I don't want to
get sued.
Well, I don't want to get in trouble from YouTube. But anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it. And do we want them to press a button or sign up?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Don't forget to like the video, everybody. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell to find out when the next video is uploaded. Thank you.
Thank you.